Welcome to WNOG's Radio Journal. My guest today, Dan Wall and Naples City Councilman Joe Herms. Mr. Wall is the man who blew the whistle and nobody listened. He told the City Utilities Department and other people that there was something wrong with the water meters in the City of Naples, and ultimately he lost his job. And we're going to find out what happened and why that happened as we proceed, and we invite your telephone questions and comments at 262-1270. 1-800-330-1270. We also invite you to watch us on Palmer Cablevision Channel 11, Golden Gate 11. And while I'm doing little things that I'm supposed to remind you about, I'm to remind you that the President's State of the Union address will be heard tonight at 9 o'clock on WNOG, and in fairness, we'll be carrying the Democratic response, another service from your source for news, 1270 Radio, WNOG News, Naples. Welcome to the program, Mr. Wall. Nice to have you here. The last time we heard from you publicly was your affidavit before the City Council. And in summary, why don't we begin? You started to work in December of 1985 for the City of Naples. You're an accredited water meter reader and others. You have other accreditation as well. What is that?
Yeah, I've been certified by Herzi Water Meters for repair. You know, I've actually went to a... I was sent to a training, Herzi training, for repair.
Okay.
I mean, I understand the workings of a water meter.
Okay. And in December of 1985, you came to work as a water meter reader?
From the county.
And you were working at the county first?
Yeah, I worked for the county for 2 years.
How many meters did you read per day?
With the city? On an average, 200.
And
well, okay, if we go back into my little cement lid, I probably skipped a little because they were stuck for so long. You know, so in other words, what I'm saying, I was supposed to read 200 a day, but I had my own little system to where I didn't have to read them because they were stuck. So on an average, I probably read 130 a day.
Some of the meters were stuck and did not work, and you reported this every day.
Oh, well, daily. Well, see what happened. It started out, we read with paper books. And what you were instructed to do was flip the meter page up, and that signified that they were stuck. Then we went to computer, and then the computer, at the end of the day, outputs the stuck meters. I mean, it outputs on computer printout paper.
How do you read them now? I mean, you don't,
yeah.
But I mean, how are they read right now?
By computer.
How is that done? If I was to see a meter reader at my house, what would I see him do?
It looks like he's carrying. Looks similar to a radio with buttons on it.
Okay.
And you just, open the meter lid, check the readings, and you input it just like you would a calculator or something like that.
Oh, okay. And then that's dumped into a computer at a later time. Okay.
At the end of the day, they output it. You know, you have like your mainframe, and they just plug into and just take the information.
First day on the job, December 1985, you found how many of the 200 meters you were supposed to read weren't working?
First day, well, see, what the thing is when I got there, see, I came from the county where they actually, a stuck meter was a concern. I got there, and the meters were stuck, so I just thought, well, maybe they're running behind in repair. You know, it wasn't like, wow, the first day, well, something's going on. I mean, you'd run into them. But, like you were thinking, well, I didn't understand the repair system. They didn't have a repair system. What am I talking about? I mean, I just didn't understand the system. It took me a while to figure the whole thing out.
Like you would in any business where you went to work. So you went out, you were supposed to read 200 meters, and you read you looked at all 200.
Yeah.
And you found how many of them stuck?
On an average, it depends on what routes you were in. If you were in the larger, the large revenue meters, compound meters, you'd run into a lot more of those stuck. Those are your high revenue meters, your complex, your huge meters, your industrial meters.
How many did you find stuck?
Those, if they weren't stuck completely, usually the torrent side, 100-gallon side, they were never working properly. They were never maintained at all by the City of Naples. They're supposed to be, the AWWA, which is the American Water Works Association, recommends that those be tested once every 6 months, twice a year.
And again, how many did you find stuck? I'm trying to get you to give me a number that you found stuck.
On an average, I'd say, on a good day, probably 30.
You reported them?
Yes.
To whom?
It would have been my immediate supervisor, Joe Watson.
And did you give him paperwork to go with that?
Well, see, what the thing is, all we were informed to do was turn up the meter page, and I would mark mine with an S.
Uh-huh.
And then we were never, which I questioned this, why wasn't it our job to fill out the work orders? I mean, that was his job. He'd take them, and we'd just get the meter books back with the pages flipped back down. Until then it went to computer, then it goes into a whole nother process of beeping. And
Okay, when did it go into computer?
that's, I'm real bad on dates. It was probably at least 4 years ago.
Okay. And so then you were reporting them to the computer, and the computer reported that out every day.
Mm-hmm. They output it at the end of the day.
And as you saw these 30 meters a day,
Mhm.
on average, that were stuck,
Mm-hmm.
obviously you saw them repaired, right?
No.
They
No,
never
until
got-
the day I left. No, that was always that way. Well, I should say, my family owns meters within the utility service area.
Mhm.
And when all this happened, my meters, I noticed mine got repaired real quick. I mean, they got right on mine. I mean, in other words, the hospital, the 6-inch of the hospital remained stuck for years. But man, I got really quick service. I think that was a personal favor from Mark Wiltsey to thank me for the information.
Our guest is Dan Wall, and I should mention City Councilman Joe Herms. We got to take a break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Let's say you're driving along the road one day when suddenly your car breaks down. Naturally, you take it to a chiropractor, right? Of course not. But many people manage their finances in exactly the same way. They need, say, personal trust services, and they end up talking to a mortgage expert. Or they've been assigned a loan expert for help planning their investment portfolio. But there's a bank opening in Naples with experts in all your various financial needs, Manufacturers Bank. With Manufacturers Private Banking and Trust Services, your personal account manager works with a team of professional advisors specializing in investments, loans, personal trust, and financial planning. So why go to a loan officer for investment advice? You're better off with a bank that specializes in your specialized financial needs. Learn more about private banking at our Naples Trianon Center office at 3777 Tamiami Trail North, or call 813-263-1200. Manufacturers Bank, member FDIC.
Do you know the major risk factors for cardiovascular disease? They are high blood pressure, cigarette smoking, and high cholesterol. The good news is you can control all three. The current recommendation is for cholesterol not to exceed 200 milligrams. The best way to achieve this is to control your saturated fat intake and your weight. If you're interested in learning more, call the Health Styles hotline at 774-8065.
Hi, everybody. It's Larry King. The war continues to rage on in the Persian Gulf, and the Larry King Show continues to stay atop the scene with outstanding guests, diplomatic, political, military. Your calls for those guests, and then an interchange of ideas on Open Phone America's War in the Gulf. Hear about it tonight on the Larry King Show and participate on this mutual radio station.
Tonight at 11 on 1270 WNOG.
1270 WNOG Naples.
262-1270, 1-800-330-1270. Dan Wall and Naples City Councilman Joe Herms is a guest. We're talking to Mr. Wall about the affidavit that he wrote to the City Council a few weeks ago to outline what occurred between 1985 and 1989 to cause him to get very excited about the fact that no water meters were being fixed. And as I understand it, it was some bills going to your house that caused you to suddenly blow the whistle and try to get some action.
Well, what happened is the City of Naples, I don't know the exact figures, but we own rental property.
Mm-hmm.
And what they did is they put their deposits, which, like, if you owned the place, you could get a $60 deposit, but if you rented, it was $180, and our tenants could not afford $180. So we would put it in our name for, $60.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and anyway, the meters would be in our name. And so we got a high water bill, and it was so high we couldn't pass this off to our tenants because they could barely afford.
Just to live there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they couldn't afford the.
What caused your water bills to be so high?
To this day, I still don't understand. I mean, it hasn't been explained.
Broken water meters.
What do you mean?
The meters were broken? Is that what
Well,
you're
no.
saying?
Well,
Is that
see,
what you're
within our
alleging?
12, okay, I turned in that list to Mark Wiltsey, my list of water meters. And I turned in my own meters, which has never been brought out. I had 2 stuck meters in my duplexes, which are in that list.
Okay.
So in other words, they got right on mine. You know,
And
that's what
how
I
many were on that list?
said.
About 700. Carl.
700.
And that wasn't, okay, at the time I made that list, that was at that time the totally stuck meters for the length of employment. That wasn't all the stuck meters. I was looking at the meter pages, that's when we were on paper, saying this page is totally stuck. So I'd go through the books, totally stuck, writing them down.
That was 1987.
Yeah, that was 1987.
So then you went to Mark Wiltsey, and you
Mark
said,
Wiltsey.
and he's the assistant city manager.
Yes, sir.
You said, here's all this stuff, and what happened?
Well, see, the first thing I did is I just threw the thing on his desk, and his reaction was, "Who else knows about this?" I mean, that's you know, you go, "Wait a second." You know, you'd say, "Well, maybe we ought to check into this." That was his. I mean, he actually physically jumped out of his chair, like it was a real jolt to him. I mean, he actually paced the floor. My wife was there too.
Okay.
And he said some great stuff to my wife, which is hard for you know, you get her view of it. You have to see her view. But he basically said to her, he doesn't work for the people of the city of Naples. He actually said that to her. Because she was saying, aren't you going to take care of this? He says, it's really not my job. She goes, what do you mean it's not your job? You know, he says, well, you should have went to utilities, which we already did. She goes, what do you mean it's not your job? Don't you work for the people of the city of Naples? And he goes, no, I don't. She said, what did you say?
Yeah.
And then he just cooled off and we were out.
Anyway, you took this all to Wiltsey, and then
Yes,
what
sir.
happened? The meters get fixed, right?
No.
What?
No, I still can't figure that one out.
You gave him a list of 700 broken meters, and there was no action.
Very little. I mean, I think they did it to pacify me and to irritate me.
Did Mr. Wiltsey tell the city manager, do you know? Did he tell the mayor, then Ned Putzel?
I don't know. That's what confuses me. I don't.
But nothing got done.
Very little.
What happened to you?
It's obvious what happened to me in the end.
You
but,
got fired.
Yeah, in summer '89. And I was never given a reason for that. I talked to Mr. Coggins yesterday, and it was because of poor performance, which I want it to be noted. I turned my work in complete every single day. Disrupting of meetings. It said in the newspaper, disrupting the meetings. I think that particular meeting that day was, we're not giving enough free water to WinStar. We must give more. I think that's what the whole meeting was. I'm not sure about that because I was kind of like rushed out the door, but I think it was one of those meetings where we got to give more water away. We're not collecting enough. I mean, I was like, we're collecting too much money.
And that meeting was recent.
No, this what I don't even know when that was. That's what
1989.
Yeah, that's what provoked me to going to the newspaper.
And since that time, you've been doing what?
I moved to Nashville, and
You meter reader there?
no, I don't want to even be bothered with utilities. I've had
What are you
enough.
doing now?
Well, you know what's really bad is I maintain condominiums, and when people have water problems, they come ask me. And I was kind of, it gets me worked up. I go, oh no, not again, you know.
Ginger, let me start anyway with your question. I'm going to have to take a break for the headlines in about 30 seconds, but if you have a quick question or comment, why don't you go ahead?
Well, it's not really a quick question.
Well, then, let me ask you to do this for me.
Yes.
Let me ask you to hold for about 2 or 3 minutes. It may be longer than that. We got to do a Persian Gulf update. But we're going to take a break from this program to our headlines, and we ask you to hold with us. Danny Wall and City Councilman Joe Herms will be back in just a few minutes on WNOG's Radio Journal.
Good morning, I'm Tracy Griffith with this update of WNOG News. We'll have a CBS News Gulf update in 1 minute. Work is officially underway on the proposal by Governor Lawton Childs to create a new Department of Elderly Affairs. The task force working on the issue met for the first time yesterday in Tallahassee. Childs talked with the group and wants approval by the legislature this spring. The governor says an agency separate from the State Department of Health and Rehabilitative Services could be created without any new money by eliminating duplication. Back in 1988, Florida voters authorized creation of the new department. Senate President Gwen Margolis has thrown her support behind the creation of the new department, but Senator Jack Gordon cautions that HRS decentralization mandated by lawmakers 15 years ago has not yet been completed. Gordon says changes like regional budgeting and reduction of the HRS Programs Office should be undertaken before a new department is gradually phased in. NASA officials say next month's scheduled flight of the shuttle Discovery will likely be postponed into early March. They say some thruster nozzles on the spaceplane need to be replaced.
CBS News Update. I'm Ed Crane. A chilling report today from Radio Baghdad, which says an Allied missile strike last night hit an Iraqi industrial target and killed an unidentified captured pilot who was supposedly taken to the location serving as a so-called human shield. The broadcast gave no name, nationality, or serial number of the Allied POW who's said to have died. There's one report this morning that as many as 200 Iraqi planes have been dispatched to Iran. The planes are said to be unarmed and include some of Iraq's most advanced fighter jets. Military expert Don Snyder says Saddam may be preserving aircraft and perhaps people for use after this war.
We should remember one thing in this whole war. Saddam Hussein is a survivor, and it takes three things for him to survive: himself, the Ba'athist Party for its political control and security control, and some modicum of military power. He probably will try to not use all that military power in a ground campaign.
CNN says it has conducted the first interview with the Iraqi leader in which he hints the deployment of planes to Iran may be the first step in forging an alliance with Iraq's once bitter enemy. From eastern Saudi Arabia, correspondent Christopher Glenn reports a new round of ground skirmishes between U.S. Marines and Iraqi troops in Kuwait.
The attack is described as the heaviest ground fighting of the 13-day-old war so far. A battalion-sized unit, about 800 men of the 1st Marine Division, used a combined arms of artillery, mortar, tow missiles, and automatic cannon, fired about 300 rounds, 1,000 meters across the border at Iraqi bunkers and observation posts. No U.S. casualties reported in the attack, neither was there any return fire from the Iraqis.
Germany announced it will increase its cash contribution to the Allied military effort against Iraq by $5.5 billion. CBS News Update. I'm Ed Crane, CBS News, New York.
Your WNOG 3-day AccuWeather forecast follows this.
DeVoe Cadillac is giving you one last chance to save on luxury taxes on your new car. DeVoe Cadillac is willing to pay your luxury taxes on any new 1991 Cadillac through January 31st. Cadillac has been America's #1 luxury automobile for 42 years. Cadillac outsells Lincoln nearly 2-1, and they outsell BMW, Lexus, Infiniti, and Mercedes combined. And right now, DeVoe Cadillac will even pay your luxury tax through January 31st. It's your last chance to beat the luxury tax at DeVoe Cadillac, 4100 North Tamiami Trail.
Here is WNOG's exclusive 3-day AccuWeather forecast for Southwest Florida. It'll be partly sunny, very warm and humid today, and also tomorrow. Only a small fraction of the area can get an afternoon shower, and the high temperatures today and tomorrow, 82 to 86, although cooler right along the beaches. Then on Thursday, a partly to mostly cloudy, humid day, a few showers around, maybe a thunderstorm, and Thursday's high around 80. For AccuWeather, I'm Joe Sobel.
The news station, WNOG Naples.
Welcome back to WNOG's Radio Journal. My name is Carl Loveday. Our guest today, Dan Wall, a former meter reader in the City of Naples, the man who blew the whistle and nobody did anything, he'll tell you. And he has produced an affidavit for the Naples City Council. 262-1270 is our phone number. Naples City Councilman Joe Herms is here as well, and we'll be talking to him during the program also. I'd like to, as a matter of fact, pick up a little bit on this before we go back to Ginger's call. You wanted to make a point about the documentation for Mr. Wall's statements. There are documents that back up what he's saying, is what you want.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think the most critical issue that he brings out, which I wasn't even familiar with, is that, in fact, his immediate supervisor or supervisors on an everyday basis, either with the computer setup or with the old paper setup, knew every single zero consumption meter that was read that day.
Okay.
Why didn't they repair them?
I don't know. That's the question you've been asking.
That's the big question.
262-1270, Ginger in Naples. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm just sitting here at my terminal listening, and I just had to call in. Danny, I used to work with your wife before you both moved.
Mm-hmm.
And I just find a lot of what I'm hearing very strange and unbelievable, I guess you could say.
You worked in insurance?
Yeah.
Okay.
I worked with your wife.
Mm-hmm.
some of the questions that come to my mind right now are more like, well, Mr. Herms just said you have written documentation.
Yes, ma'am.
There was people. I never heard a thing about this. I didn't even know that you were fired, and Jeannie and I were close, you know.
Uh-huh.
And where were you airing your views about the water thing? Could you sleep at night? I know when I have problems, I can't even sleep at night.
Yeah, well, you know, if you talk to Jeannie, yeah, I definitely didn't sleep too much at all. But, you know, I took...
Where were you airing your views? Like out in the streets, or where they should
Well, see
go?
what
Did you go to the city council people?
What's really humorous about this, you'll get a big kick out of this. I better not mention the insurance man's name, but I used to actually bring my books up into your office and talk with... I actually provoked one of them into talking about his meter, because I told him, I said, well, maybe you ought to call into utilities, and I said, because all your neighbors are getting free water, why should you pay? And boy, that just got him fired up. I actually used to pass.
Well, what after, let's see, how long has it been? A year, 2 years now?
Since I've left?
Yeah.
It's going on 2 years.
It's going on 2 years, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
What all of a sudden brought this out, that that you felt comfortable in coming back and airing your view and what you did? Why didn't you not stop then until all this was brought out? Why
You mean, why didn't
long?
I do anything back then?
Yeah.
Okay, what I did is I went to a local paper, and they pursued this for 2 weeks. And, okay, let me state this, too. See, Mark Wiltsey said he's not sure that this is his responsibility, you know, because it was so many years ago. The fact hasn't came out that he was reminded. I mean, it's like, I turned that in, that would be April of '87. And he said, oh, it goes back so far, I don't know if I remember. But that newspaper called him and reminded him in May of '89. He still didn't take action. He still hasn't taken action. This man is being paid. In other words, see, I'm a Tennessee resident. You are paying for this man to do this to you.
Ginger, thanks for the call. Frank in Naples, welcome to the program.
Yes, I'm a retired municipal employee with over 35 years, and I was in a related field. And can't understand why there was not a maintenance program, because the utility is supposed to be, shall we say, self-sustaining. In other words, the money's incoming are to recover the cost of the utility. My question is, with all these defective meters, was the meter company that was involved, or meter companies involved, were they going to furnish brand new meters to replace these, or what happened down the road?
Well, I mean, what eventually happened, and it was brought out in my affidavit, is what they did is they would replace meters. They were running so many years behind, the work orders would just stack up. And, okay, so I understand it now, why they went through so many meter readers, but say like if you have Bob reading a water meter, and he turns this in as stuck, and so Bob quits, and they hire Frank. And so he reads the same meter, turns it in as stuck. Then I come along, I turn it in as stuck. If this thing's not getting repaired, the work orders are stacking up, stacking up, stacking up.
And they didn't have a maintenance program?
No, none at all.
Well, there's another issue here too, Frank. The list would stack up, but what they would do is they'd send out one person to replace a meter, put a brand new meter in it, then send out another person 2 weeks later to replace the same meter, so they'd throw out a good one. Then they'd send out somebody again to do it again 3 weeks after that. And it was funny because I took Randy Coggin on a little ride a few weeks ago, and we went by the pile of meters over in the meter department. And I looked on the top of the pile, and I said, look at this meter, Randy. Look how nice this meter looks. It looked in real good condition. And it was put in '89. And I said, you know, I wonder if by any chance this is one of those dual change-out meters that we've been doing. And, you know, we both sort of had hesitations, but I said, just for the heck of it, I'm going to take it with me. Well, the next day I took it in. I had them run all the tests on it. That meter was absolutely perfect at all levels of consumption.
Frank, you got a follow-up?
That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So when did a meter program begin, a replacement program begin?
Well, they were replacing meters at a very, very small level. They might have 1,500 meters that needed replacement, and they'd replace 200 or 300 a year. And then eventually they'd have...
When you needed to replace how many?
When you needed to replace 1,500 of those, okay? What happened is they got up to a level where they had 1,900 meters that were broken, but they were only replacing 800 a year, and they had another 800, 900, 1,000 that were going bad over that next year. So they never, ever kept up with it or caught up with it. So you always had an increasing number of meters that were reading 0 from the years 1983 to 1990.
So now they got aggressive in the past few weeks.
Now we've gotten aggressive.
They've had to.
Yeah.
I mean,
and now all the meters are working, according to Mr. Cohen.
No.
What?
See, okay, Randy.
Now wait a minute. The acting city manager told our reporter the other day that all the meters are working.
I know. He told me the same thing yesterday. And last night I went out on my own. I've got 15 on a list right here, and I'm dying to take a camera crew out. I mean, they're not repaired. You're being stonewalled. I mean, it's happening again. I mean, I met with Mr. Coggins. He has the same reaction as Mark Wiltsey does. I mean, I can't believe it. I thought this would be a lot easier.
Did you go with him? Did you verify what he says, Mr. Herms?
No. I'm planning on going out today with him and seeing where the meters are.
Marguerite, welcome to the program.
I just have a little personal meter problem to tell. I'm an 85-year-old widow. My last utility bill was $252. 170 of it was for water. And I use a very minimum of water. I don't even have a sprinkler system. And it turns out that they didn't read the meter, that it was estimated for I don't know how long. Mm-hmm. And if there was a leak in my bathroom, and if I had known that if I had had the right bill, mm-hmm. I would have had the plumber come and fix it. Mm-hmm. He had to come twice to find it anyway. Mm-hmm. But the meter has been in the same place, and so have I, but for 23 years. Mm-hmm. And why can't they, if they can't find the meter, why don't they knock on the door and ask where it is? And how come they can't find it after 23 years?
Is this a question to me?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, when you have your administration sitting around drinking coffee, I mean, is it a necessity for them to get out? I mean, it's like you're going to ruin a good donut break, you know?
Well, I believe it, and it's really hard on a person to have a $170 water bill.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, let me explain something to you. See, that's what provoked me into all this. I got the same thing. I had a half a duplex that averaged $4, $5, $6 a month, and boom, I get hit with $191, and nobody can explain to me why. That's what got me going to Mark Wiltsey.
Well,
and see, what I tell you, what you should do is get down and talk to Mark Wiltsey, see if you can get any satisfaction.
Well, I've already had them out here, and they told me there was nothing they could do.
But they couldn't find your meter?
Oh, they couldn't. That was the reason they gave. They couldn't. They didn't.
How long has that been going on?
See, that's what I said. The meter's been there for 23 years, and so have I, in the same house, and they couldn't find the meter. But they didn't tell me that, and that was when I got this big bill. I questioned it, of course, and they said it was because they hadn't read the meter because they couldn't find it.
I'm sure Mr. Herms would like to talk to you some more about that, Marguerite, and what you're going to need to do is give him a call after this program. What's your phone number?
263-4000, Marguerite.
What is it?
263-4000. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure Mr. Herms would love to talk to you.
Oh, no, Mr. Hermans?
Mr. Herms. Joe Herms is the city councilman.
Oh, yes, I know who he is, yeah.
Yeah, sure you do. 263-4000. Do we have to take a break? I'm losing track here. We do? We need to take a little break. We'll be back with more telephone calls right after this.
The recent changes in Medicare have a lot of people thoroughly confused. Do you presently have the right protection to meet your future needs? Why not let the experts at John Gilmore's Advantage Group answer your Medicare questions? The Advantage Group specializes in Medicare and long-term nursing insurance. For a free consultation appointment, call 353-1089, 353-1089. After all, your two most important assets may be your health and health insurance. Get the health advantage from the Advantage Group. Call 353-1089.
Would you like to take a break? You know, get away from the kids for a while. Then you should listen to the comedy show this week right here on this radio station, where our topic will be, oh no, kids. I'm Guy Phillips, and we'll have more fun than recess time at a daycare center. Be sure to tune in to the Comedy Show.
Join Guy Phillips for the Comedy Show each Saturday afternoon at 4 on 1270 Radio WNOG.
What's that coming this way?
It looks like a blizzard.
Yeah, but it's green!
We better get in the house!
All over Florida, a blizzard of money is being won in cold cash, the new instant game that's taking Florida by storm.
You're tracking money all over my clean floor.
I'm gonna clean up. Boy, am I gonna clean up.
Play Cold Cash from the Florida Lottery, the instant game with lots and lots of winners.
Thank you, listeners, for making us your #1 radio station. This is the news station, 1270 Radio WNOG, Naples.
Okay, welcome back to the Radio Journal. My name is Carl Loveday. Dan Wall is our featured guest. Joe Herms is here as well, City Councilman Joe Herms. Mr. Wall is the one that put together an affidavit and who said, you know, a whole bunch of things were bad in the city water meter system from December 85 through the summer of 1989. He's got the documents to prove all that, and he's the one that blew the whistle and nobody listened, and you've been hearing stories about that ever since. Joanne in Naples, welcome to the program.
Hi, Mr. Wall.
Hi.
I read in the paper that you were harassed before you were fired.
Uh-huh.
Can you explain how you were harassed while you were with the city?
Very good question. What it started out with, this is before computer. I mean, I was, well, you're driving a city truck too fast. I mean, it just went on and on. No, you can't eat lunch at the meter shop anymore. This is pretty funny, too. I was banned from eating lunch at the meter shop. The other meter reader could eat his lunch there, but I wasn't allowed to. Then when we go into computer, it got to, these computers print out. Okay, in the newspaper here, I've got sitting here, it says they had a glitch in the Naples computer system, failed to count more than half the water meters registering 0. Okay, but that's what they're stating here. But that thing tracked me, and if you go into my personnel files, they tracked me. The thing will track you. You have a 15-minute interval. In other words, if I'm at your meter, the thing will say I'm there at 11:05. I go to your neighbor's meter, it's 11:10. It tracks me, and when there's inactivity, it shows spaces. They actually tracked me, computer printed out my activities. Where were you this minute, this minute? They always use that thing to track me, and I said, well, wait a second. There's 2 meter readers. We used one truck, the other meter reader. They never tracked him. This is what I'm saying as far as form of harassment. You can go into his personnel file. There is no tracking. They consistently tracked me with that computer. They used it to track me, but not to find stuck meters. I mean, that's just like just one example of it.
Okay, Joanne?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks a lot for the call. Catherine in Naples, welcome to the program.
I'm just curious to know why this program is only presenting one side of the case of the water meters at this point. Also, why is it we are only listening to one man's statements?
Well, for 2 reasons.
And when are we going to hear the other side of the account?
2 things. First of all, we have presented the other side. Mr. Coggin has been here presenting the other side, as well as other people. Pardon me?
People who are being accused.
Oh, you mean people like Mr. Wiltsey, for instance, or Jim Chaffee?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever the man, it seems to me the man must have more immediate supervisors.
He doesn't have any immediate supervisors in Naples anymore. He doesn't work here anymore.
No, I know that.
Mm-hmm. No. And what you're hearing is, I thought it would be interesting for you to hear what he presented to the City Council and how he presented it. Because he made these presentations to the City Council fairly unchallenged, as I recall it.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much unchallenged. Mm-hmm. And those people who you're talking about were sitting in the audience at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think, though, that Catherine?
Yes.
You have a very good point, and I think it might be a consideration that the other side of the issue, the same kinds of questions are asked. Bring in some of the people that worked in this situation. Ask them why they didn't do it. I'd be very interested to hear their answers to that.
And I have invited some of them, not all of them, and we'll keep trying.
Can I make a point here, too?
Yes.
I don't know, this is on TV. Here's their point of view. I never got to give my point of view.
Oh, you're talking about the Naples Daily News?
Just anybody. I mean, It's like they've got to screen their views through the media. I
Catherine,
haven't had my chance.
Catherine, we'll keep trying.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the call. Steve in Naples, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I want to pose a question to Mr. Herms. It seems to me that it really doesn't take an Einstein to figure out that there's obviously been a cover-up and probably somebody's had their pockets lined a little bit here, maybe in this situation with Windstar also. Why did you vote for an increase of the rate to the people that that probably should be suing the city over this?
Very good question, Steve. What I was finding was that the past administration, well, the past manager, had a situation where our reserves, which are the reason why our bond rating is so high, and the bond rating also requires a certain level of reserves, were down to an absolute minimum. And if we didn't start a revenue stream back up, we were having the possibility of our bond rating being reduced, which in fact would cost all of the citizens eventually a lot more money when we went out for additional bonding. So what I made a decision, supported by Mr. Menzer and Mr. Sullivan and of course the rest of the council, was we will make the increase at 18%. We'll get the revenue stream started. We'll get all the meters repaired and increase that revenue stream. And then in the summer, this coming summer, we're going to review the total revenue stream. If we have our reserves up there, we're going to do the reverse. We're actually going to reduce the rates. And that's my true goal here. I want to reduce the rates to all of the citizens.
Do you have any plans of recourse against some of the perpetrators in this scandal?
Well, we have at the present time 6 separate criminal investigations going on, of which some of them, I think 4 of them, are involved in the Water and Utilities Department. I have confidence that our police department is turning over every stone and all the information so that we will be able to take whatever action is necessary. But I want to caution you, I'm not so sure always that the people that have been accused of certain things are actually guilty of it. When you start to hear some of the situations of mismanagement in the utilities department, it really makes you wonder whether some of the fault doesn't lie there as well. So I just caution the public from, taking a look at some of this free water and totally blaming immediately until the investigation is complete those individuals or companies that have been accused.
Can I make a comment here, too?
Sure.
To the best of my knowledge, I guess it was Friday, John Pasadomo and Mayor Red Crawford recommended that Mark Wiltsey be given a raise for working so hard these last couple weeks.
Steve, thanks for the call. Going to take a break. Our guest is Dan Wall and Joe Herms. We return in 2 minutes.
Show your support for our young men and women in the Persian Gulf with God Bless Our Troops or Support the Storm stickers. They're free at Accent Signs, 335 Airport Road. Put them on your car or display them at your place of business. By displaying these God Bless Our Troops or Support the Storm stickers, you're showing everyone that our troops are always in your thoughts. Pick up your stickers today, free, from Accent Signs.
Chamber music, precise, intricate, tasteful, with an implied quality that conjures up thoughts of the finer things, as in Lafitte, voted one of Florida's finest restaurants and perhaps one of the unique dining experiences anywhere. Lafitte's elegant surroundings orchestrate and heighten your anticipation. Perhaps an appetizer, like French escargot nestled in Vidalia onion with purple garlic, fresh herbs, and Chardonnay. And this is just the beginning. As you might imagine, a great part of the Lafitte magic is in the creative blending of exquisite taste combinations. Another case in point, sautéed filet of John Dory with crayfish tail, crisp fennel, and sauce fumé blanc. This incredible harmony of delicacies and presentation has won nearly every award Florida's top gourmet critics can give. Lafitte, at the Registry Resort, Naples. A splendid choice. Reservations requested.
Thank you, Naples, for making us your #1 voice for news and talk. This is 1270 Radio, WNOG, Naples.
Welcome back to WNOG's Radio Journal. Our guest is Dan Wall, a former meter reader for the City of Naples. and City Councilman Joe Herms. Debbie in Naples, welcome to the program.
Good morning. I've been following the papers, and I've gathered that Mark Wiltsey knew about the broken meters a long time ago. And I'd like to know why you were fired and why Mark Wiltsey still hasn't been.
That's okay. Basically, see, I've been watching this from Nashville. Also, I've been getting his little bits and pieces from my family, in the newspaper. And see, I thought some action would be taken because directly he was directly responsible for this. I mean, it was reported to him. That's what I'm questioning. See, I was let go because of poor performance. I've got to hear poor performance and misconduct. And I just don't know. It's like I'm confused,
Joe Herms.
There was a very interesting point that was brought up yesterday, and I have some very strong concerns about this situation. The city manager notified me that we do have a criminal investigation in the utilities department going on right now, but I asked him point blank, is that investigation going to go all the way to the top? Is it going to include the ex-utilities director, Jim Chaffee? Is it going to include the ex-finance director, Bill Hanley? Is it going to include the present assistant manager, Mark Wiltsey? And is it going to include the ex-city manager, Frank Jones? And what really concerned me is at the present time, it will not include those individuals. I very strongly, and I encourage Randy to include those individuals, and if they're not going to be included, I think we need to have a separate investigation, because the answers that we're receiving is that Mark Wiltsey has stated that he gave the list to Frank Jones, but Frank Jones is stating that he didn't receive the list. So who is or is not telling the truth in this area is a strong concern of mine, and we obviously are not investigating, in my estimation, the complete situation here, so we get all the answers.
May in Naples, welcome to the program.
Good morning. It appears to me that you can lead a horse to water, or you can beat it to death if it doesn't float on its back. I think that this program and these kinds of comments and accusations are not a service to the community. The city has turned over a new leaf. We are taking a positive approach. And it seems to me that whipping this horse is taking a step backward. As for Mr. Wall, it's my understanding that he was not a model employee. As he
I never
would
stated
like
I was.
Well,
go ahead, May.
Thank you, Carl. I think that there was a problem of long breaks and lunch hours and times when he couldn't be found. Even you might want to ask him how he signed his personal evaluation. And as for the pile of meters at the Public Works yard, those are not to be scrapped. You might be led to believe that they are just to be tossed out, that it's a big waste of money. Those meters are to be checked out, reused when they can be.
May, I'm going to have to cut you off because I'm out of time, and I know that Mr. Wald wants to briefly respond. Quick, and I mean like quick, 15 seconds.
I think you're being misled. I worked there. I know what's going on.
But you were not a model employee.
Oh no, I've never stated that once. I mean,
some of her statements are true.
My evaluations, there were comments that have never been brought out. See, I don't have a copy of those. I definitely want people to see those.
Okay. Joe Herms, we'll be talking to you some more. Where's this going?
Well, hopefully we're going to get the completed investigation and find out the truth.
Our guests have been Joe Herms and Dan Wall on WNOG's Radio Journal. My name is Carl Loveday. This is 1270 Radio, WNOG Naples.
Take I-75 to exit 21 west of McGregor Boulevard. Turn right and follow it to the landings, where living is legendary. And it's always a beautiful day. WCVU, Naples.
Naples have been dominated by broken water meters. There are hundreds of them. Some say there were thousands of meters that didn't work. The city manager resigned after trying to deny that there was a problem. Nobody knows for sure just how much money was lost in water revenue. Now there's an interim city manager. He's jumped on the problem, yet people such as our guest today say they have not all been fixed. Our guest is Dan Wall, a former meter reader whose deposition regarding conditions in the utilities department helped convince other councilmen that the problem was real. This week, Wall, Councilman Joe Herms, who's also with us, have been touring the city looking for other water problems. Before we start, let's make two things clear. Wall has never claimed to be an ideal employee, but he certainly knows what went wrong with the water department. What we are going to try to find out today is why things got so bad, and perhaps how to make them a little better and make sure it doesn't happen again. We'll be back in a minute.
Remember me? I'm the kid that had a report due on space. Then I got the new Encyclopedia Britannica.
He had a report due on space, and then he got the new encyclopedia.
I think I made that abundantly clear.
Yes.
Anyhow, here it is. I mean, hey, everybody knows this is the greatest encyclopedia in the world. Help me get a B+.
Why not an A?
Too long. I found so much great information I put it all in. Overkill. The next report I did was for my science class on the human body. Scored an A.
Good.
Look at this. I always wondered where my mandibula was.
For details on how you can own the new Encyclopedia Britannica,
Let's have that 800 number. Excellent.
just call this number and we'll send you this free booklet.
Tell them about the gift.
And just for previewing Britannica in your home, we'll give you this 3-volume desk